Hello folks, and welcome back to the channel. And as always, I do thank you all for watching, and I thank all my subscribers. And this is the third episode of the Marlin Rifle Stock Refinish series. And no, I have not forgotten about my boat. As a matter of fact, I plan to spend most of the day tomorrow working on the boat. I have a lot of epoxy work left to do, and I've explained that in those videos. But as you can see right here, I have finished most of the initial sanding on the rifle stock here. And again, I've stayed away from the checkering. Now what you're seeing right there, that's just sawdust that is built up down in the checkering. I can get that out of there real easy, with an air blower. That's no problem. But what I'm planning on doing to finish this rifle stock out is I'm going to go ahead and wet down the wood, the entire stock, and in order to raise the grain. And I'm going to sand that out, wet it down again, sand it out, and maybe do that 2 or 3 more times, maybe 3 or 4 more times. And I'm going to be using 320 grit. I'm not going to go any finer than that now. There's a lot of people out there who do this, who say don't go any finer than 220. And really, it's just a matter of opinion. You know, it's a matter of personal preference. And I just want to go for just a little bit smoother look on the finished stock. And plus, if you ask, gosh, 20, 30, 40 guys out there who refinish rifle stocks, what's the best way to do it, you're going to get that many different answers. There is no one method that is the only method. I guess it's best to say. Now, granted, yes, you can mess up a rifle stock in a hurry. You can make a mess of it and ruin it in a hurry. I mean, yeah, there's probably plenty of wrong ways to do it. But like I said, there really is no one method that is the only method. And this is the way I'm going to do this. And the way I'm going to do this is, like I said, I'm going to wet this entire stock down a few times and sand it out with 320 grit. And of course, the reason for that is right here. I don't know if you can see that, but you see all those little specks and freckles in the wood? That's actually the old finish that is embedded deep down in the pores of this wood. And what I want to try to do is lift that out by wetting it down. And again, we're lifting the grain, and then I'm going to try to sand as much of that out as I can. I'd like to get most of the stock to looking like this right here. And of course, this is that area where I removed that little blemish, that little ugly blemish back here. And I have been out here sanding some more on this, and as you can see, I mean, it's completely gone now. It's not even noticeable. Also, I've attached the butt plate, as you can see, and that's because I have removed, maybe a couple thousandths of material back here. I can just barely catch my fingernail right here, and I don't know, it may have been like that from the factory, for all I know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to match sand that. I want this even with this, and so we're just going to sand that with the butt plate in place. All right, folks, I'm going to get this wet down one more time, and then I'm going to get busy sanding. I'll be right back. Okay, so as I wet this down, it kind of gives me an idea of what the rifle's going to look like. Now, if I was to just apply a linseed oil finish, that's probably pretty close to what I would have right there for the finished product. And as you can see, I've got just a little bit of a light spot, a light colored spot right here. And that's because that is the area where that blemish was that I took out. And I had to lift up a lot of the wood right there, and had to lift a lot of the grain in order to get that blemish out. And what I'll probably end up having to do, even after I'm finished sanding out the rest of the wood, is I'm probably going to end up having to put just a little bit of stain in this area to try to darken it just a little bit, just to try and match the surrounding area and the rest of the rifle. I'm going to flip it over here real quick, or I should say the rifle stock. I keep saying the rifle. It's not a rifle until I put it all back together. Right now it's just a stock. All right. Now right here, now I did not sand on this side, of course. You know, I didn't have that ugly blemish over here on this side to deal with. And you can see how much better that looks. So yeah, this is going to take just a little bit of work right here to get it evened out and to get it more consistent with the way the rest of the stock looks. And so we're just going to go ahead and let that dry, and then I will get after the sanding. Okay, one more thing I wanted to show you here real quick while this is drying. I'm going to run this straight edge, and I know this is the factory edge of this little piece of hobby plywood right here. I know this edge is straight. But watch what happens when I run it along the back side of this stock right here. And this is that area right here where I removed that blemish. And right along in there, maybe a thousandths gap right there. I mean, that's not going to be noticeable at all. And by the time I finish sanding that, I don't think you're going to notice it at all by the time I get that finish sanded and then get the finish reapplied. All right, folks, I just wanted to show that to you. Let's rock on. Okay, so I'm just going to pick an area and get started. I'm just going to start right up here on top of the cheek riser right here. And I'm going to use a sanding block from here on out. I'm not going to use my fingers or the sponge. The sanding block will ensure a smooth, even finish with no grooves. Of course, you know, it wouldn't be noticeable right now, but once the finish is applied, if there are any grooves in that wood, then it would most certainly be noticeable. All right, here goes. Okay, yeah, we're getting there. I might have to go ahead and stain this to get that color consistency that I want. I may have to wet sand it, try to get that little slurry, and just bring some of that sawdust from the sanding into this grain right here. I went on ahead and took the butt plate back off. I got that match sanded about as good as it needs to be. And you probably saw in that previous segment where that black dust from that plastic was getting all over the wood right here. I didn't want to take a chance and grind that down into the grain. That would just make extra work trying to get that back out. And so I went on ahead and took it off. Like I said, it's probably matched up as about as good as I'm going to get it. And so, all right, we're just going to keep on rocking on. Okay, folks, as you may or may not have noticed in those photographs, at first it looked like this wood was going to take that stain very well. And I was using a lighter color than what was on there. This is what I was using right here. This is Golden Pecan, and I wanted to go back with a lighter color than the factory finish. But as it started to dry over time, I noticed these grayish dark blotches start to show up in the wood, and just didn't look good. And so, long story short, I ended up taking it back down to bare wood because, I mean, it was just obvious that that light colored stain wasn't going to work. The wood did not like it. This is either birch or beech. I'm not quite sure what Marlin used in the manufacture of these rimfire rifles. I know they did not use walnut, but regardless of what they used, whether it's birch or beech, it just does not like that light colored stain. So round two, and for round two, this is what we're going to go with. This is actually going to be a little bit closer to the original color. This is red mahogany, and I think this wood will like that darker stain a whole lot better. I just have to finish sanding it out. I've got a couple of areas where I need to finish sanding back here on the back end, so I'm going to get that done and I will be right back. Okay folks, I'm back and I'm finished with the sanding work now, and so it is time to move on to stain. I've got it sanded, I've got it cleaned off, all the sawdust off of it, and it's ready to go. So win, lose, or draw, you get to watch it here first. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go with this red mahogany right here, and hopefully this will take that stain, that darker stain, just a little bit better than it did the lighter shade. But I did a little bit of research on this, and I think I mentioned this before. This is probably, I'm 99% sure this is birch. It's definitely not a English walnut or anything like that. So, it is, after all, it's a kind of a entry-level rimfire rifle, and so yeah, it stands to reason they're not going to use just a real high-end piece of wood on the stock, like they would on a high-end safari rifle. So, like I said, win, lose, or draw. You get to watch it here first. One thing I did discover as I was researching this is that Marlin used some kind of a toner that they applied to the stock in order to even out the finish, and that was to eliminate those little dark shades and dark blotches that I was having trouble with. But again, I'm hoping that this darker stain will kind of help alleviate that problem. So with all that said, let's get started. Well, all right, folks, I think I can live with that. It still has a few little dark areas, but again, it wasn't a top grade piece of wood to start with. Like I said, this was Marlin's entry-level rimfire rifle, and so it just stands to reason they weren't going to use a high-end piece of English walnut. It is birch, and I did the best I could with it. I think, though, once this dries, according to the manufacturer's instructions, I got to give this 12 hours to dry, And I think once it has dried and I put the linseed oil finish on it, I think it's going to look pretty good. So that's it. Yeah, I kind of like that red mahogany. Kind of makes it look like a World War II rifle, almost. But hey, I'm liking it. Alright folks, thank you for watching. Okay folks, one last time. It has been just a little bit over an hour now since I stained this. And it looks like some of those darker areas, there was a little bit of dark streaking going on there. But it looks like they're starting to blend a little bit as this dries. And now there are going to be a few little dark spots. I think it's just unavoidable. Like I said, this is not a premium piece of hardwood. I mean, it is just a piece of wood they used on a production assembly line rifle. But I think I can live with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video right there. I'm going to let this cure for a few days before I start applying the linseed oil finish. And we will just pick up in the next video right where we're leaving off here. I will start applying the linseed oil, like I said, after this is cured, maybe 4 or 5 days. I might give it a full 7 days to cure. We'll see. I've got other stuff going on. It just depends on how bowed up I am on some of my other projects. But I mean, it won't hurt anything at all if this goes another week, 2 weeks, whatever. I mean, it's just the longer it cures, actually, the better. But that's it. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I thank all of you for watching. Thank you for your patience. Like I said, that first light coat of stain, that was a fail. I mean, it just was never going to look good no matter what I did to it. I think the darker stain right there was the way to go. But again, thank you for watching. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, in all things, to God be the glory.